So you might not know, but not long ago, a video game released called Palworld, which caused a lot of controversy because it seemed to many people to be a sort of rip-off of Pokemon. And there was a lot of questions about, is there going to be legal action from Nintendo, or rather the Pokemon company? They don't really tolerate people using their properties, and essentially Palworld didn't really copy them directly. So to my understanding and to my knowledge, there isn't really a case there, and again, to my knowledge, I haven't seen anything unfold. Anyway, the reason Palworld is relevant is Palworld gave people a Pokemon game that they've always wanted, but that the Pokemon company, Game Freak, Nintendo just never created. And it's more than a Pokemon game. I mean, there's so many different systems and mechanics, but it has this element of capturing pals with pal balls, right? Just like Pokeballs, capturing Pokemon. And so it really does scratch that itch for a lot of people that people have had for many, many years. And so obviously people began drawing comparisons between Palworld and Pokemon. And I thought this whole thing was very interesting because it seems like you now have a small studio, a small team of people that create a game that sells, by the way, I mean millions. And then you have this big studio that has way more resources but just doesn't give people what they actually want, that isn't really catering to the market, or doesn't understand the market, or is not interested in operating in that part of the market. And so what this does is it sort of created this new dynamic. Indie companies can come in and create essentially a similar game but make it better and give people what they actually want, to the point where perhaps millions of people will buy that game, thus boosting that company and allowing that company to create more games like that, and keep the player at the end of the screen happy and enjoying themselves. And so why do I relate this to Rocket League? Well, I've been thinking for a while now, Rocket League probably needs something like a Palworld, because the game seems to be stagnating. And this is not just my opinion. The biggest Rocket League YouTuber, who's a Musty, or just Musty, but a Musty Cow is his YouTube name, on YouTube is his name, and even he, biggest YouTuber covering Rocket League, I mean, he recently released a video saying, dear Rocket League, this game is just, it's just the same old, same old. There's nothing new. There's, we have all these things we want, we have all these ideas, but there's just this lack of communication. The game is not expanding. You're not actually listening to the people. And yes, the game is still fun. The game is wonderfully fun. The game is great, but familiarity breeds contempt. Over time, people are going to lose interest, and the worry is that the company behind this, the studio behind this, is just not thinking in the same long-term vein as the players are. And as a consequence, players would probably, and this is what I think if a smaller indie studio pulled a Palworld and created a similar Rocket League, but actually included the innovation and the change of gameplay styles and more detailed car customization, because Rocket League is about cars driving around, and essentially car soccer is one way you could think about it. Cars driving around trying to get big giant balls into goals. They could do all of that, all of those things that Rocket League players are asking for, and if they managed to do it better than Rocket League, it would essentially be another Palworld. And I don't really see people talking about the fact that Palworld has kind of opened that as a possibility, where smaller gaming studios can come in, create a better version of the game, and actually pull a huge audience. Now, I think this is a good thing, because I think it then forces Psyonix, the company behind Rocket League, to reevaluate, oh my goodness, we've just lost such a massive player base to this new game. I think it kind of puts them in a position where they have to consider updating or adapting or innovating. And this comes back to a basic principle, which is that competition is essentially good, because competition keeps you healthy. It keeps the company on its toes. In my country, if you want a specific legal document or an ID document, you have to go to the government, essentially the government Home Affairs to get the documentation you need. There's no other way for you really to get this documentation. So there's no competition. That company, Home Affairs, can kind of treat people as badly as they want. They can delay things. You have no other option. But if a private company opened and offered that same, offered a better experience, offered quicker speeds, offered more organization, everybody would use that new service. And it would force the original business to reconsider its attitude, its aptitude, its competence, its abilities, the way it's offering that service, the way it treats its customers. Everything improves as a consequence of that healthy competition. And I'm hoping that's going to happen with the Pokemon games. I'm hoping that's going to happen with Rocket League at some point. But this is why I say and I feel on some level Rocket League probably needs a Palworld. Rocket League probably needs something like a Palworld indie game company to come in, or just an indie game company to come in and do it better. And then we simply see what the market wants, what the players want, what we buy, what we play, how many hours we sink into these games. And that, I think in the end, will result in a better game, a better Rocket League.